Have you ever met someone who seems charming on the surface but leaves you feeling uneasy, like something isn't quite right? Maybe they manipulate conversations, twist the truth, or always seem to have a hidden agenda. You can't always put your finger on it, but deep down, you know something is off. That feeling? It's your intuition, recognizing an evil person before your mind fully catches up. And if you understand the signs, you become their worst nightmare. Evil people, those who deceive, manipulate, and exploit, thrive in the shadows, relying on others' ignorance to get what they want. But the moment you see through them, their power begins to crumble. And that terrifies them. Stoicism, the ancient philosophy of resilience and wisdom, equips you with the tools to recognize and neutralize these individuals. From remaining calm under pressure to thinking independently, Stoic principles make you immune to their tricks. And that's exactly what they fear most. In this video, we'll break down the 9 signs evil people fear you know about them. Signs that, once you recognize, will give you the upper hand in any situation. Let's dive in. Number 1. They fear your ability to remain calm under pressure. In the face of adversity, most people react emotionally. They panic, get angry, or succumb to fear. Evil people, who often thrive on creating chaos and exploiting vulnerabilities, rely on these emotional reactions to manipulate and control others. But when you cultivate the Stoic virtue of composure, you deny them this power. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, reminds us, "Make the mind tougher by exposing it to adversity." This wisdom is just as relevant today as it was in ancient Rome. Imagine a toxic workplace scenario where a colleague deliberately stirs up tension, perhaps by blaming you for their mistakes or creating rumors about you. Their goal is to provoke you into reacting impulsively, to damage your credibility or make you appear unprofessional. A typical response might involve defensiveness, anger, or even retaliation, which plays directly into their hands. But a Stoic response flips the script. Instead of reacting emotionally, you pause, assess the situation, and respond rationally. For example, instead of confronting the toxic colleague in anger, you calmly document the situation, provide factual evidence to your superiors, and let your professionalism speak for itself. This approach not only diffuses their ability to manipulate you, but also reveals their behavior to others. Remaining calm under pressure doesn't mean suppressing emotions or ignoring problems. It means acknowledging your feelings, processing them internally, and choosing a response that aligns with your values and long-term goals. Practicing techniques like mindfulness, journaling, or even daily reflection, methods recommended by the Stoics, helps you build this composure over time. The more you train your mind to handle adversity with grace, the less power chaos and manipulation have over you. Evil people fear calm individuals because their tactics rely on emotional instability. Your calmness exposes their schemes, leaving them scrambling for control. It's a quiet but powerful form of resistance, one that turns their attempts to harm you into opportunities for personal growth. Number 2. They fear your unwavering integrity. Integrity is a rare and powerful trait in today's world. In a society where shortcuts and compromises often seem like the easiest paths to success, living with unwavering integrity sets you apart. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, reminds us, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. This simple principle, when applied consistently, makes you a force that evil people cannot easily manipulate. Consider a situation in modern life where integrity becomes your shield. Imagine a colleague pressuring you to bend the rules or falsify information to close a deal. Many might justify such actions by citing financial incentives or the need to meet deadlines. But you, grounded in your Stoic principles, refuse to compromise. You explain your reasoning calmly and stand firm, even if it means facing short-term setbacks. What happens when you choose integrity over convenience? First, you build trust with those around you, your colleagues, clients, and even yourself. Second, you establish a reputation that shields you from future manipulation. People quickly learn that you are not someone who can be swayed by false promises or unethical pressure. Evil people who thrive on exploiting moral weaknesses fear those with strong integrity because they cannot penetrate this armor. In today's world, integrity is often tested. Social media encourages curated facades, workplaces can prioritize profits over ethics, and peer pressure can tempt us to follow the crowd. Yet, when you embody Stoic integrity, you become a beacon of authenticity. This consistency doesn't just protect you, it inspires others to rise to your level. Evil people fear integrity because it holds up a mirror to their own lack of values, exposing their behavior to others. Number 3, they fear your ability to think independently. One of the most threatening traits to someone with ill intentions is independent thinking. Evil people rely on conformity, groupthink, and blind obedience to maintain their influence. They want others to follow the crowd without questioning motives or seeking the truth. But, as Epictetus advises, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. This means living according to your principles, not the expectations of others. Imagine a modern example, a social media trend promoting materialism or superficial values. Many people might follow along, spending money they don't have or comparing themselves negatively to others. But as a Stoic, you step back and ask, does this align with my values? Does this contribute to my growth or happiness? By thinking critically, you free yourself from the pressure to conform and instead focus on what truly matters. Independent thinking isn't just about questioning trends, it's about questioning authority, narratives, and even your assumptions. For example, in the workplace, you might face a situation where management pushes a decision that seems unethical or poorly thought out. Instead of blindly agreeing, you research, present alternative solutions, and stand by your reasoning. While this might make you unpopular with those seeking compliance, it earns you respect as someone who values truth over convenience. Evil people fear independent thinkers because they cannot control them. By asking questions, seeking evidence, and relying on reason, you disrupt their plans. Your independence forces others to think critically as well, breaking the chains of manipulation. In a world filled with noise, your ability to think clearly and act decisively is a superpower, and one that evil people find deeply threatening. Number 4, they fear your resilience against manipulation. Manipulators thrive on their ability to push emotional buttons, leveraging fear, guilt, or insecurity to steer others toward their desired outcomes. However, resilience, the capacity to stay steady and unaffected, renders these tactics powerless. Epictetus reminds us, "He who laughs at himself never runs out of things to laugh at." This Stoic principle encourages us to embrace self-awareness and detach from the opinions or actions of others, creating a shield against manipulation. In today's world, manipulation often manifests in subtle ways. Consider a personal relationship where someone tries to guilt you into doing something you're uncomfortable with. They might say, "If you really cared about me, you'd do this." The intent is to provoke feelings of doubt or inadequacy to sway your decision. A typical reaction might involve defending yourself or begrudgingly giving in. But as a resilient Stoic, you recognize the manipulation for what it is. Instead of reacting emotionally, you calmly set boundaries, expressing your decision without apology or anger. Resilience doesn't mean you lack empathy or ignore others' concerns. It means you approach situations with clarity. You understand that manipulation often reflects the manipulator's insecurities, not your shortcomings. By detaching emotionally and responding thoughtfully, you strip their tactics of their effectiveness. To build this resilience, Stoics advocate regular self-reflection. Journaling, for instance, allows you to identify triggers and patterns in your reactions. Meditation and mindfulness help you stay grounded in the present, making it harder for manipulative tactics to take root. Over time, this resilience becomes second nature. Manipulators who depend on emotional reactivity fear individuals who maintain control over their responses. Number 5. They fear your courage to speak the truth. In a world where lies and half-truths often dominate, speaking the truth is a revolutionary act. Evil people who rely on deceit to further their agendas fear those with the courage to confront falsehoods. Marcus Aurelius advises us, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This principle reminds us that actions rooted in truth are far more impactful than empty words. Imagine a scenario where someone spreads misinformation to harm another's reputation. The fear of speaking up, whether due to social backlash or personal risk, can silence many. However, a Stoic grounded in courage and virtue recognizes that silence enables harm. Speaking the truth may not always be comfortable, but it is necessary for justice and personal integrity. This courage can also apply to more personal situations. Perhaps a friend is engaging in self-destructive behavior, and others avoid addressing it out of fear of conflict. A Stoic, valuing honesty over superficial harmony, would approach the situation with compassion but firmness. By speaking the truth, you prioritize long-term well-being over short-term discomfort. Evil people fear truth-tellers because truth exposes their actions and disrupts their control. While truth may initially provoke resistance or hostility, it ultimately fosters trust, respect, and positive change. Practicing this principle daily, whether through small acts like correcting a misunderstanding or larger ones like addressing systemic injustice, reinforces your courage and weakens the grip of deceit. Number 6. They fear your focus on what truly matters. Distraction is one of the most effective tools for manipulation. Evil people seek to divert attention from meaningful goals, pulling you into trivial arguments, materialistic pursuits, or endless cycles of comparison. Marcus Aurelius captures the Stoic mindset perfectly. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. This quote reminds us to focus on what truly matters, living a purposeful, virtuous life. In modern life, distractions are everywhere. Social media algorithms are designed to keep you scrolling. Advertisements push consumerism, and societal pressures demand conformity. An evil person might exploit these distractions to control your time and energy. They might engage you in petty conflicts or tempt you with offers that serve their interests more than yours. But as a Stoic, you cultivate the discipline to see through these diversions and prioritize what aligns with your values. For example, consider someone at work who frequently involves you in gossip or non-productive tasks, detracting from your ability to meet important goals. Instead of succumbing to their distractions, you remain focused on your responsibilities and refuse to engage in unproductive behavior. This steadfastness demonstrates that your time and energy are not easily hijacked. Stoics emphasize reflecting on your values regularly to maintain this focus. By keeping a clear vision of what truly matters, whether it's personal growth, meaningful relationships, or contributing to a greater good, you develop an inner compass that guides your actions. Evil people fear this clarity because it renders their attempts to distract or derail you ineffective. Number 7. They fear your ability to forgive and move on. Forgiveness is often misunderstood as a weakness, but in truth, it is one of the most powerful tools for personal freedom. Holding on to anger or resentment gives your adversary continued power over you. Marcus Aurelius warns us, "How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it?" Forgiveness, from a Stoic perspective, is not about condoning harm, but about freeing yourself from its grip. In modern life, holding grudges is common, whether it's a friend who betrayed your trust or a colleague who undermined you. The instinct to dwell on past wrongs can feel justified. However, this fixation keeps you tethered to the very people or events that hurt you. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or allowing harmful behavior to continue. It means releasing your emotional attachment to the wrongdoing and focusing on your growth. Imagine a situation where someone spreads rumors about you. Instead of stewing in anger or plotting revenge, a Stoic approach involves acknowledging the hurt, learning from the experience, and choosing to move forward without bitterness. This doesn't mean you allow the person back into your life without accountability, but you refuse to let their actions dictate your emotions or future. Forgiveness also models strength to others. When you let go of grudges, you inspire those around you to do the same, creating an environment of resilience and positivity. Evil people fear this trait because they rely on their victims staying trapped in anger, seeking validation, or craving revenge. By forgiving and moving on, you reclaim your power and focus on living virtuously. Number 8. They fear your self-discipline. Self-discipline is one of the most empowering virtues you can cultivate. It represents control over your desires, impulses, and fears, enabling you to live a life guided by reason and purpose rather than fleeting temptations. Epictetus reminds us, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Evil people fear self-disciplined individuals because they cannot exploit their weaknesses or manipulate their desires. In modern life, self-discipline might manifest in resisting the lure of materialism, declining harmful habits, or maintaining focus in the face of distractions. Imagine someone in your social circle encouraging you to overspend on unnecessary luxuries, knowing it will leave you financially vulnerable. Without discipline, you might succumb to peer pressure or societal expectations, compromising your long-term stability. But with self-discipline, you evaluate your actions against your values and goals. You decide, with clarity, whether the temporary satisfaction is worth the cost to your future. Evil people rely on exploiting impulsiveness, whether it's through manipulative sales tactics, emotional provocations, or societal pressures. A disciplined person, however, is not easily swayed. Your ability to pause, reflect, and act deliberately makes their usual strategies ineffective. When they see that they cannot control your desires, they fear you, knowing they have no leverage. Building self-discipline is a daily practice. The Stoics advocate small, consistent actions, such as limiting indulgences, setting clear priorities, and reflecting on your progress. Over time, this habit strengthens your resolve, creating an inner fortress that manipulation cannot penetrate. Evil people dread this strength because it not only protects you, but inspires others to follow your example, further dismantling their influence. Number 9. They fear your unshakable sense of purpose. Living with purpose is one of the greatest antidotes to manipulation and negativity. A clear sense of purpose guides your actions, grounds you during adversity, and provides meaning to your life. Epictetus encourages us, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Evil people fear this sense of direction because it makes you unstoppable. You cannot be distracted or deterred from your goals. In today's world, a lack of purpose often leads to aimlessness, making people susceptible to external influences. Consider a scenario where someone tries to involve you in drama or petty conflicts. If you lack clarity about your goals, it's easy to get drawn into these distractions. But with a strong sense of purpose, you recognize these for what they are, irrelevant detours, and refuse to waste your energy on them. Purpose isn't just about big, life-defining missions. It's about aligning your daily actions with your values and long-term goals. For example, if your purpose is to build a successful career while maintaining strong relationships, you prioritize tasks and relationships that contribute to these outcomes. When others try to derail you, whether through jealousy, competition, or manipulation, you remain focused, knowing that their distractions do not serve your greater mission. Evil people fear purposeful individuals because purpose creates momentum. When you're clear about your direction, you inspire others, attract opportunities, and create a ripple effect of positivity. This undermines the negativity and control that manipulative people thrive on. Purposeful living isn't just a shield, it's a force that transforms the world around you. Stoicism teaches us that true power lies in mastering ourselves, our emotions, our actions, and our thoughts. Evil people who rely on manipulation Fear those who embody Stoic virtues because these virtues render their tactics ineffective. Calmness under pressure, unwavering integrity, independent thinking, resilience, truth-telling, focus, forgiveness, self-discipline, and purpose are all traits that disarm negativity and foster strength. Living by these principles doesn't just protect you from harmful individuals. It allows you to live a life of meaning and virtue. The Stoics remind us that we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control how we respond. By cultivating these traits, you not only neutralize the power of evil people, but inspire others to rise above fear, manipulation, and distraction. Ultimately, Stoicism isn't about avoiding conflict or living passively. It's about confronting life's challenges with wisdom, courage, and clarity. By embodying these principles, you become someone who is not only impervious to harm, but a force for good in the world, a person that evil people fear because they cannot control or break your spirit. Let this be your guiding light, to live as a Stoic in the modern world, grounded in virtue and free from fear. If you found this video helpful, please like and share it to spread the wisdom of Stoic philosophy. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss future videos on Stoic living and personal growth. Thank you for watching, and I wish you strength on your journey.